Invincible is known for one main thing.
Are you sure?
It's Cecil! Bra bra.
It's insanely brutal fights. So I thought, why not? In today's video, I went through all 4 seasons of Invincible and ranked every single fight from worst to best. Subscribe as it helps a lot, and enjoy. For our first tier, we have the shit tier. Now, the fights themselves may not be awful, but to be in the shit tier means you've somehow catastrophically offended me one way or another. Now, at the very bottom of this monkey fuck tier is the entire verse somehow getting diffed by Doc Seismic. First of all, this guy is an actual C tier villain, and bro somehow manages to capture every superhero except Mark and Eve. They both fly down here, and son. This is where my disdain for Mark started. I hated season 3 Mark. This is a Mark who's fought multiple Viltrumites and his father, and then also trains the Cecil to get so much stronger, and somehow is getting bodied by random centipede monsters. Like, I'm very aware the Invincible creator has zero respect for power scaling, but this fight was genuinely so brain dead it hurt my soul. Next up though, we have Goat Rex carrying Bum Vincible against these 2 guys from the future. Now, I actually really enjoyed this scene because it's just them talking about random shit and no diffing these guys. I also just love Rex in general, but what really annoyed me about this fight is when shitterfuck Multi-Paul shows up. This fat freak shows up yelling at Rex, claiming he was the reason his sister died, even though no, he was trying to save her. And while Rex is literally getting trampled to death in front of Mark's eyes, he is still holding back in fear of hurting him, I guess. Even though it doesn't even matter if you rip them in half because of his powers, he eventually does start killing them. Extremely slow, I may add. I don't know why we aren't just flying through them instantly to save Rex, but whatever. And then, oh my god, Kate comes down with the immortal. She basically explains to them that she faked her death to get away from the hero work, but like, okay, no. Genuinely, everyone needs to stop. Dupla mid, you absolute failed abortion. You let everyone worry about you being dead, and you didn't want to fight anymore because you were done with putting your life on the line, even though your life was never on the line because you always have a coffee and hiding. Genuinely drown yourself. Now, another season 3 fight from Invincible boy over here. Dude, there's so much wrong with this entire fight scene. It makes me so mad. I know people are always saying season 3 Mark is just losing fights because he holds back, but I don't think people realize there's a difference between pulling your punches and letting yourself get beat up. Mark attacks the Mauler twins, who at this point in the story should be far beneath him, gets shot by a stun gun until Go Oliver comes in saving him. Then he proceeds to get his ass beat by a singular Mauler. And what made the scene even more pathetic on Mark's part is the fact that 1 minute later, Oliver, who's like 2 years old at this point in the story, with a fraction of his brother's strength, negative diffs both them in 2 seconds. Once again, a mid-fight, but the power scaling was so bad here, it actually annoyed me to put it at the bottom. Next up, our second to last fight in the shit tier. This one may get people mad, but who knows, we'll see. Invincible versus Angstrom in their second encounter. Now, some of you already probably know why this fight is down here in the shit tier, but if you don't, let me enlighten you. The actual fight itself was fine, whatever. What pissed me off is Mark hesitating to kill this freak and letting him escape. Oh my god! This is the same guy who the first time y'all met broke your mom's arm and threatened to kill and torture your entire family. He's also the same guy who brought an army of Invincibles to wreak havoc on the entire planet, killing countless people, and now you finally get a hold of him and you hesitate like a fat pig letting him escape. I'm telling you guys, season 3 Mark is one of the most annoying characters in the entire show. And then finally, maybe this one shouldn't be up here, but Invincible versus Jussie. You know, truthfully, with Powerplex freaking the fuck out, they definitely should have given him this line.
You can't keep getting away with it!
But yeah, this guy just annoys me because of how stupid he is. He literally sees Omni-Man schizo the fuck out attacking his son, who's barely standing on his own 2 feet trying to save people, and you're freaking out saying that it's his fault. Like, I know he's mentally unstable, but it's still just brain dead. And then when he loses control, killing his wife and child, he still blames Invincible. Like, holy cope, bro, this is your fault, not his. But yeah, those are all the fights that deeply offended me one way or another. So now we will go ahead to the meh fights. Just really quickly, want to let you guys know we do have a Patreon where I'm reacting to One Piece. He's still going! Oh! And the block manga. Konigami fucking saved it! So if either of those sound interesting to you, check it out. Now entering the meh fights. These are the fights that didn't insult me, but were just Meh. First off, we have Invincible versus all the Maulers. Now, truth be told, I dabbled in the idea of putting this in the shit tier because he fucked over Angstrom, who was actually trying to do good. But to be fair, it does look suspicious. The other reason this fight was kind of brained was he almost died to like 10 Maulers. Yeah, I know they aren't technically like weak, but keep in mind all of our like 2 years old negative diffs to them. So yeah, like I feel like he should still be able to win this pretty easily. Next up, we have the demons fighting the lava girl. Yeah, I wouldn't argue against you if you want to put this in the shit tier because this was pure filler trash. But even being boring filler, at least it didn't really like personally insult me in any way, so it's just the bottom of meh tier. This is more or less the same bullshit as the last one, but at least we get to this time watch Invincible win a fight pretty handedly for once. Also, just gonna mention how much of a fraud Satan is. Bro spends the whole episode getting his magic crown back just to get no diff in the end. Genuinely a super fraud. Another entire episode slash side plot that we just didn't need to happen was Invincible versus King Immortal. This whole 30-minute side plot was pure nothingness fluff that was just boring. Although it gets plus 5 points for killing off Immortal. Now, if we want to talk about a nothing burger fight, it's this one. It lasts about 3 punches, and yeah, that's about it. Now, truthfully, I'm not one to bitch about animation like how other Invincible fans do, because I understand every single frame can't look as detailed as the comics, but we also can't ignore the fact that this is a multi-billion-dollar company. You can't hire like 5 extra people for just better lighting and shading in every scene. This one fan easily added shading to the Conquest fight to show how easy it is, but the reason I bring this up is because without all the shading in detail, Dinosaurus goes from looking like a Giga Chad to Giga Chud. Next up, we have Mark and Omni-Man farming the Resistance in another alternate dimension. Kinda a weird one for me to rank because it wasn't that much of a fight since barely any attacks were thrown, but why not? It's only up here because on first watch, all of us were so confused what was going on, so it gets some points for shock value, I guess. Bro, this fight was beyond boring. Literally could use this as a substitute for melatonin if you need to go to sleep. Now, I'm sorry to the 2 Super Titan fans watching this video, but I could not care less about him or his family, even 0.0000001%. Whether they lived or died here would have made 0 difference to me. Although the ending of this fight was kind of cool. This was barely even a fight, but it gets a spot up here because my Giga Chad Goat Jussie voices Powerplex, so just get some bonus points for fun. This next fight was beyond boring and stupid, but the only reason it gets any credit is slight character development for Robot as he experiences fear for the first time, since it's his first time in action in a human body. Omni-Man farming a random planet monster. Yeah, that's more or less the entire thing, but he's like my favorite character in the show, so it's up here by default. Next up in the same episode, it's Omni-Man and Oliver beating this random monster's ass. Once again, whatever, but you know, we at least get to see Nolan show some mercy, so there's that. This fight is a tad bit fun watching Oliver and Mark work together to take on this dragon guy, but once again, just lacking any substance or care for the characters. Another run-of-the-mill filler Invincible fight that just bores you. It was slightly better than some of the other ones in this tier, but once again, I don't really feel too strongly either way. Ranking the fights in this tier is near impossible since it just feels like I'm comparing trash to garbage. Now we have the first fight of the entire show, the Guardians of the Globe versus the Mauler twins. You know, looking back on this fight, it kind of paints a picture of how much of frauds these guys were, struggling this much against the Mauler twins. The Guardians of the Globe should be the strongest heroes, and they're performing worse than 2-year-old Oliver by himself. This was a slightly entertaining fight, but now looking back, knowing what we know, fucking a Battle Beast versus these Nuggets was Giga Turbo overkill. We have Season 1 barely learned how to use his powers Mark, and Team versus a Thrag level fighter. Genuinely, what were they trying to do against him? Absurd overkill. Now we have the Flaxen second invasion, just kind of a default fight where the aliens invade and everyone jumps in to fight. Nothing too interesting going on, so it just, you know, slots nicely into our met tier. They're kind of sad that this fight is down here, but the first fight in the Invincible War was Mark versus Mohawk Invincible. This fight could have ranked way higher. It was just really short because it was only like 2 attacks and then it ended, so yeah. Now getting closer to the top of our met tier, we have Invincible and E versus the Dragon Guy. There were some cool sequences in this fight, but overall just still kind of mid. It also lasted probably a little bit too long. Invincible fighting Doc Seismic for the second time, I think at the Washington Monument, it was decent, I guess. It goes a tad bit higher than the rest because it at least made me smile the tiniest bit. Bro was saying they stole the mineral from the earth just to build this, and Mark's like, isn't that just most buildings? And he's like,
you can keep the ones made of wood.
now we have the Flaxen's 4th fucking invasion. I've never seen a group of people trying so unbelievably hard just to take over one planet out of millions. This shit was mostly another boring Flaxen invasion, but the only reason it's this high is because my boy Captain Britt. This Chad is voiced by Mike from Breaking Bad. I'm currently watching Better Call Saul right now, and Mike is my GOAT ore farming in every scene he's in. So because of GOAT Mike, it's near the top of our met tier. Now this is barely even a fight, but Invincible versus the Darkwing fake. He traps Mark in the Shadowverse with no way out, but Mark grabs him and he's like, alright, guess we're dying together. But you don't kill people. It's like you said, I'm Omni-Man's son. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Ooh, that shit was tough as fuck, bro. Also gets bonus points for being fairly short and sweet. Now near the top of our met tier, we have Mark versus Titan. This was a nice, fun fight to watch just because it was his first ever outing as a hero. Watching him struggle to try to fly around, beating his ass was, you know, entertaining. And I just felt like a proud parent watching it. And then finally, for our top fight in the met tier, you could maybe argue it belongs in the good tier since there was, you know, some decent writing behind it, but I don't care. This fight was fine because it was an eye-opener to Mark that being a hero isn't all sunshine and rainbows, and that he will be weak and powerless to save people. It also introduced us to Team, which we all love, minus Monkeyfuck Duplafat and Bum-Ass Robot, but even Giga Chad Rex are both goated. And now, entering our good tier, we have finally gotten to the fights that, you know, they made me smile and I enjoyed what I was watching. At the bottom, we have Tech Jacket versus this random monster, mainly just because I like Tech Jacket as a character. Now, I know people will be molding in the comment section that we didn't get the comic accurate Tech Jacket in the show, but let's be so for real. With the way they don't shade shit in this, it would have never looked this cool. Plus, we gotta consider the law of equivalence in this world. We lost this, but we got this instead. I'm fine either way. Next, we have Invincible and Alan's first encounter back in season 1 when the animation was actually still pretty good. God, we took it for granted. This fight was just goofy and fun. Plus, it's where we get to meet Alan. Bro's just a lovable, funny guy, so, you know, why not? Now we have Invincible and Rex versus this octopus guy. This was right after Rex was slimed out by the Lizard League, and seeing him anxious back in action was good development. Plus, also with Rex, you know, this show is just a lot of good lines of dialogue. Overall, a good fight that made me smile a few times, so it deserves a spot in the good tier. This fight was only up here because we finally get to see Space Racer or Farm one-tapping the Viltrumites. My only gripe with this fight and season in general is they did a weird nerf to Alan and made him seem so much weaker than he was in the comics, but overall, still fun to watch. Now, entering the Invincible War, once again, we have Mark and Eve versus Omni and Mask Invincible. Now, I don't know what it is with characters in the show trying to fight characters they clearly aren't a match for, but Eve decides to stick around before getting diffed by Omni Mark. He saves her from them trying to 2v1, but overall, I just enjoyed this tiny little scuffle. Action was decent, but Mask Invincible is funny, and Omni Invincible has so much aura with this costume. Traveling all the way back to season 1, we have Mark saving William from the Reanimen by Sinclair. This whole side plot was actually kind of scary and dark as fuck, with this guy capturing people, experimenting on their bodies in the sewer. Mark, obviously, still at this point in the story, is weak as fuck, getting his shit rocked, but then William sees his boyfriend as a Reanimen and talks him back into remembering his life somehow, even with his brain removed, and he attacks the others, saving them all. Goated scene, and we even get to see William land a few punches of his own. Speaking of the Reanimen, this is the first time we see them. Truthfully, kind of a weird scene because after the tiny little scuffle back and forth, the creature sees itself in the reflection in the water, and his humanity comes back to him as he freaks out, killing himself. Really dark. Also, this is where apparently Amber found out he was invincible and there was still being a cunt. Oh, don't even get me started on this bitch. This is barely a fight, but I don't really care. I'm giving it to when the Pentagon was under attack. And when the villains saved them, my goat Cecil wasted them both without a second thought. Truthfully, Cecil was the undisputed goat of the show until his brain-dead mistake of leaving Conquest alive. Hopefully, this doesn't have any ramifications later. Now we have Mark and his father versus Lucan in season 2. Lucan comes in just to remind the audience how weak Mark still is compared to normal Viltrumites, literally bitch slapping him around and then smushing him into the ground with one finger. But Goat Nolan comes flying in, slapping bro with his schmeat. They go back and forth a bit before he uses the signature Viltrumite slash to spill his guts out and then impale him with a sharp rock. And now we have a fight during the Invincible War between No Goggle Vincible and the Guardians. This guy's just goofy as fuck, making fun of them all. Plus, we get to see Bumortal and Dupla shit get farmed. And then there's one shot I really love where he grabs this guy's leg, doing the exact same move his father did on Darkwing before. Overall, just a good callback. Plus, we get to give Darkwing a heroic moment, trapping him in the Shadowverse, sacrificing himself. Next, we have Mark and Nolan farming the Bumortal in an alternate timeline. Genuinely, who did bro think he was in this scene attacking these two? Listen, we can slander bro all we want, but no one can ever say bro ducks a fade. Also, the final sequence of Omni-Man finishing him off was super clean. This was the Cecil backstory, and like I said before, Cecil's goated, so I just enjoyed this little scuffle by default. Bro was just always the Giga Chad, nearly sacrificing his own life trying to save everyone else from these schizo monkeys, and yeah. Going all the way back to season 1, we have Invincible and Eve fighting Doc Seismic. Once again, looking back to the start, the animation was so good, it brings a tear to my eye. Overall, the fight has some cool sequences, but the reason it's up here is because Doc Seismic is just unironically very funny. He's like telling Eve that let's tear down this modern world, and he's like, look at the outfit they got you in. I mean, talk about pandering to gender roles. And Eve's just like, bruh, I designed this myself, and thank God she did. But then she's like, I thought you studied seismology. And he says,
Undergrad in sociology and women's studies. I had a minor in African dance. Not enough politics!
dude, this shit was just so out of left field. I just can't help but laugh. So yeah, maybe a curveball, but I think it deserves to be up here. Next up in the good tier, we have when Thrag comes into power and tells them to remove the weak from their society. This fight could have truthfully been much higher if we just got more of it. It's slightly unfortunate, but they really don't show us too much. Eventually, Thrag comes out telling them to stop, and Conquest almost tries swinging at him. Like, I know you're strong, my guy, but stand down. This is literally crying baby versus hydrogen bomb. This fight was just tragic. But we have when the Viltrumites were jumping my boy Alan. This was just wild to see for the first time. And it was also just unfair as fuck. You're all stronger than him at this point in the story, and you're jumping my guy 3-on-1. This was just a great scene because it really tugged on your heartstrings. And it was a good reminder to everyone how evil these guys were. But now for our final fight in the good tier, we have when Omni-Man farmed Oliver. This little shit had such a big ego for so long, even though he's useless in nearly every fight this season, and bro got called out on his bullshit. He's like, I don't need to train, I can fight. And then Nolan just takes him out and starts bodying him or farming the whole time, putting little bro in his place. Great scene to see someone finally knock bro down a few pegs, while we also get to see Nolan being goated as per usual. Now we finally entered the great tier. These are the fights that genuinely were really solid one way or another, whether it just be the action or the writing behind it. First up, we have the season 2 finale with Angstrom versus Mark. Truthfully, I only put this up here because I thought people would be mad otherwise. But this fight had a lot of really great moments, but it was kind of just frustrating to see him make the same fucking mistake over and over again, continuously flying into each portal the guy kept opening. But I still think it should deserve a spot in this tier since it develops Mark as a character, with the final sequence of him beating him to death being the first real time he actually kills someone. Now in contrast to the last fight where he accidentally killed his first person, this is the fight in which he killed someone on purpose after the events of season 3's Invincible War, since he realized he can't keep letting these supervillains go. Oh really? The Sequids invaded Earth, but Cecil managed to set up a barrier keeping them contained. If they got it to the rest of the planet, everyone else would be controlled and it would be the end of humanity. But there was basically only one host left alive, and Bulletproof was bringing Mark a disruptor to get it off the guy, but the dome only has 1% charge left, and instead of waiting to take that extra half-second risk, he just one-taps bro, ending the threat for good. Maybe it was too hasty, but I agree with Cecil that it was the right thing to do, as sad as it may be. But yeah, this fight was the turning point for me that season 4 Mark was on fucking timing and was stopping his beta streak from last season. Next up, we have an actual banger. It was Nolan from the past fighting his parents. On Viltrum for your 18th birthday, your parents attack you, and if you fight well and don't die, it's basically like your coming of age ceremony. This fight was actually raw as fuck. When I was first watching the episode, I was confused why this guy looks so much like Mark, and then the dad looks so much like Nolan, just to figure out the kid was Nolan from the past. He kicks a rock in her eye before launching her, and bro's dad just backhands her away. This scene was so funny to me. I don't know why. He just starts going crazy on Pops, but Mom comes back. And like I said before, this woman is a schizo freak. Luckily, his dad told her to stop and that he fought well, officially making him an adult. Next, we have Alan and Nolan versus the Ragnars. These monsters are fucking insane, bro. Just one of these things is strong enough to match a default Viltrumite in battle. So when they went here and dozens of them started unthawing, it was bad fucking news. They start fighting, barely holding on as these crazy creatures start tearing them apart. And we get this peak line from Nolan. Alan's like, what do we do now? And he just says,
Now, we die.
I just find it funny how unbothered he seems to be from this entire thing, as if he isn't about to die. Luckily, at the end of the day, Alan's girlfriend flies the ship in front of the sun, making the planet cold again, so they start refreezing, allowing them to escape.
I think we can agree that stakes were made. Are you sure?
Next, we have Cecil trying to stop Omni-Man during his rampage in season 1. This is truly a weird one to rank, as the fight itself wasn't too interesting, but the writing behind it was fire. So if you want to put it fire or lower, I don't really care. First, he sends a random man after him, but you know, they don't last too long as he giga farms them, ripping them apart. Next, Cecil summons this giga monster after removing its pain tolerance, blasting it with roids, and giving it every type of experimental drug. Cecil also tells the Guardians that if this fails, they are the last hope against Omni-Man. And the faces when they realized he said against was priceless. But this monster is actually kinda cooking low-key. But before he can finish the job, Mark comes flying in, saving his dad, knocking this bitch over. And then for a random side plot, the Mauler twins brought the Immortal back to life, and Bro wakes up tweaking, angry at Omni-Man, flying off to go confront him. Bro comes flying in, swinging, and this was before he went full fraud mode, so he was actually able to, land a few good blows before Omni-Man drops this line.
You should have stayed dead.
As he starts piecing Bro back up just like he did the first time. Mark's also kind of smart here because he grabs the power line, frying the beast once and for all. But now, all that's left is Bumortal. Omni-Man weaves his attack before fisting him. Pause. But he's not done yet as he grabs his eyes trying to blind him, but Chad Omni-Man does the signature Viltrumite move, ripping him in half. Overall, super fun on first watch, but what came after is much higher on the list. Now on high, we have Anissa versus Mark. It first starts off with her trying to convince him that the Viltrumite rule would be good, but while he's talking to sea monsters attacking a cruise ship, she watches as a bum-ass Mark struggles with a default monster, obviously, and she decides to take matters in her own hands by one-tapping it, showing him who's boss. She basically tells Mark that issues like this would never exist under Viltrumite rule, and that he'd be foolish to fight back. This fight also gave us this great moment.
Be the bee you're supposed to be. Be your father's bee.
Don't fret, guys. I'm very well versed in the brain rot this community's made, so don't you worry. Obviously, Mark denies this demand from Anissa, and she just starts giving belt to ass on Bro. He tries to fight back, but nothing really works, and she eventually is stepping on his throat, and Bro says the thing we're all thinking.
I love when you step on me, mommy.
Next, we have Omni-Man and Alan breaking out of the Viltrumite prison with the help of Battle Beast. This scene was great because it was when Nolan finally decided to defend others. Alan's pretended to get to near death to this guy, which was the motivation he needed to break out and fight for others for once. Him and Alan were beating the shit out of them, and we just see Battle Beast in the distance slapping people around with his cock. Alan's like, you think Battle Beast can breathe in space, right? As he blows a hole in the wall, sucking them all out into space. Then, Nolan and Alan finish this guy off, smashing their fists into his head, destroying him. Then they can't find Battle Beast, and he's just diddling this Viltrumite in the vacuum of space. Now, nearing the top of our great tier, we have Invincible and his dad fighting these two random Viltrumites on Thraxa. Our goat Nolan was kind of carrying 2v1 in this fight, because fuck Mark was still worried about not fighting to kill this time in the story. But it's okay though, because like I said, Nolan got the long schlong. This fight was also super exciting at the time because we hadn't really seen any other Viltrumites other than Omni-Man, so it was kind of crazy on first watch. Overall, just a fun fight with great action. Next up was one of my personal favorites from season 2 or 3, I forget. But it's Rex, Duplamid, and Ray versus the Lizard League. I'm gonna have to do a lot of censoring for this one because this shit was straight up brutal. Duplicate is trying to attack Big Guy over here, but is struggling to duplicate at a fast enough rate compared to his killing speed. But she eventually can't keep up and gets squished to death. Would be a fitting death if she didn't survive off bullshit. But now it's when the fight gets real. Because at first they thought it would be a simple mission. Ray goes in this guy's eyes, killing him from the inside, now making it a 2v2. She jumps at Big Guy and he just grabs her and fucking eats her. She grows back to her bigger size, and somehow this brother flexes as hard as he can, killing her from the inside. Oh my. And now Rex is alone in a 2v1 after watching two of his friends die in front of him. He runs away panicking before eventually killing the slashing girl until Big Guy comes over, biting his hand off before the bomb blows up his head. And when we think Rex has barely won the fight, the lizard monkey comes behind him, blasting him in the head, killing him. And after getting beat up, arm bit off, and shot in the head, Shadow Rex stands up somehow. He starts laying a pipe, even at 1 HP, winning the fight. This shit was beyond raw, and it was absolutely crazy on first watch. But now, as much as it pains me to say it, after Rex's triumphant victory in the last fight, we have Rex versus another Invincible variation. He tells his friends to leave and gets instantly washed. Guy grabs him and he calls Rex, special needs, and he says, "Sure, but I'm the idiot who took you with me," as he ignites his entire goddamn skeleton, nuking both of them point blank, saving his friends by sacrificing himself to take both of them out. This as a fight wasn't that good, but as an emotional scene, it did a number on the viewers. At this point in the story, everyone loved Bro, and watching him die was absolutely tragic. So yeah, I thought it belonged near the top of the great tier. Now we have one of my favorite moments in the entire show, the one time in season 3 Mark doesn't hold back. Mark is being an emo fucking dweeb, crying to Cecil that working with Sinclair is evil and that he should be in jail, even though he's defending his father who's killed more. And truthfully, Mark annoys the shit out of me in the scene because Cecil destroys him with facts and logic, but he's being an emotional monkey. This robot tries stopping Mark and he just snaps, breaking its jaw, punching it away, and he just continues farming them one after another until eventually asking Cecil, "Is this all you got?" Why do you have to ask that, kid? That's like 20 billion more of these appear from the shadows. He tries attacking, but Cecil whips out this device that sends a certain frequency wave into his head that incapacitates Viltrumites. He tries to fly away, but Cecil activates the machine, causing him to fall back down to Earth. Mark's acting all surprised he put it in his head, which I get, but like, why are you surprised? With what Omni-Man did, I can't really blame him. Cecil's literal job is doing whatever it takes to keep the planet safe, and he's only using it on Mark because he's freaking the fuck out. If Mark just calmed the hell down and used his words like a big boy, all this shit could have been avoided. Invincible starts flying away, and Cecil's teleporting after him, chasing him across the globe. Eventually, he gets to Guardians HQ, and Cecil activates it again, causing Invincible to come flying through the mountain to them. He panics, and Cecil tells them all to calm the fuck down because it doesn't involve them. Obviously, Goat Rex slides for his boy, no questions asked, as he attacks the Reaniman. Eventually, he also attacks the control in Cecil's arm, but it doesn't turn the machine off. It's looking all over for Mark as the machine's still going off, and the Reaniman are attacking him. And then we hear...
Frequency blocked.
And Marco is absolutely nuclear, eviscerating every single one of these things, while everyone just sits back watching in pure horror. Cecil tries to give him this whole speech to Mark, warning him to never ever threaten him again, and Mark just flies in, little broing him, telling him that if he ever goes near him or his family again, he will just kill him. Ooh. This scene was one of the few times in the entire series Mark was aura farming, and I loved it. And now you were expecting it sooner than later. Near the top of the great tier, we have the Flaxen's third invasion. Once again, like the other three invasions, it's kind of just a standard invasion scene with nothing too interesting happening. The big boss guy starts beating Mark to death, and that's where Omni-Man appears, saving him and laying pipe on all the aliens. They retreat back into their portal, but he follows them to clap cheeks. Then he says,
You don't seem to understand. Earth isn't yours to conquer.
yeah, this was probably the first time we should have all picked up on, but didn't. He grabs Willow, flying around through multiple buildings until he's nothing but goop. Then he literally flies around like a fucking missile, taking out their entire planet, killing everyone. He forces the scientists to reopen a portal, then flies in, dropping it on them, finishing them off. Genuinely, one of the most badass raw scenes in the entire show. And now for my final fight in the great tier. I had the recent episode where the Viltrumites invade the coalition of planets. This shit came out of left field and was crazy when I saw it. Craig? I'm just gonna guess on this one. Krieg comes down farming all the civilians, and he's like, where's the betrayer? Here. God damn, this shit was beyond tough, bro, and even I couldn't tell, but Theodos is shredded as fuck. He's just beating a shit out of Krieg, and Alan appears fighting Luca, and he is so lucky the show decided to nerf him, because goddamn. Random Viltrumite appears beating the shit of Tech Jacket. As per usual, Alan saves her. Once again, I don't know why the show is randomly nerfing characters for fun, but Anissa appears grabbing Zoe and flies off. Theodos bitch slaps him, and we see Anissa ragdolling Zoe around, and right as she's about to finish her off, the Graysons make their appearance to the war, and Zoe's like, y'all are fucked now. This scene was great. It reminded me a lot of the goated Thor entrance in Infinity War, where Hulk was laughing, saying they're all screwed. We cut to Theodos still touching these Viltrumites, and this whole time I was really wondering, why isn't Thrag coming down to help them fight? Kinda seems like a waste because of how strong he is, but sure, why not? Then Mark realizes they need to take the ship out and flies through it with Oliver. Kinda a cool scene, and after that, Thrag loses aura because he's worried his stinky, dirty skull will get ruined and retreats. Bro's kind of a bitch. I bet he ain't all that. Now we finally made it to the legendary tier. These are the fights that were just straight up peak, and you will remember for years to come. First off, we have Omni-Man absolutely smacking the dog shit out of the Guardians with his fat peen. This was such a good scene because the entire episode you're watching this like, yeah, this seems like some safe whatever superhero show. It can't be that good. And then the last 5 minutes of the episode. This was the most brutal shit I'd ever seen. There was zero music, just the sounds of bodies falling to the floor one after another. This scene alone for me put Invincible in the running for show with the best first episode. Alongside Attack on Titan, I really can't think of any other shows with such a good, captivated first episode. Overall, Giga Peak, but I did want to show you guys the comic version, which played out much differently than the show version. In the comics, he literally no diffs them. I think the show version's better, but let me know what you think. Now we have the official start of the Viltrumite War, and we see Conquest pull up. Since monkey fuck Cecil left him alive since the last fight, Oliver says,
We killed you once, we can do it again.
and obviously he gets bitch slapped away instantly. What a new. But surprisingly, he gets a few clean licks in before almost getting crushed. Luckily, saved from his father. Invincible gets a few good licks in on Lucan before flying over to make sure Oliver's okay. Alan and Zoe are fighting this shitter, and we cut back to Conquest. Him and Omni-Man go band for band before my goat himself arrives. He threatens to kill Eve the next time he sees her, and Mark goes, fucking crazy, laying his big BBC into Conquest, actually kind of dog walking him. Cutting back to Oliver, he's getting ragdolled again, and what's new? Omni-Man tells him to fly off to the nearby planet for air, and he catches his breath. Fucking Conquest spawns in behind him, ready to absolutely dunk on bro and finish him. Genuinely one of the toughest frames in the entire series. Mark comes flying and tackling him before saying he will never breathe again. He starts choking him as they fly around the planet without him letting go no matter what. Omni-Man chases after them while Zoe and Alan escape from the other Viltrumites hiding on the ship. Cutting back to Invincible, he's going crazy choking bro out. And don't worry, in the upcoming scenes, they will be blurred for viewer satisfaction. Even tanking countless punches, he doesn't loosen his grip for even a moment. They start flying around and bashing into rock after rock. Conquest is nearing the end, and Mark bites his finger off. God damn, it's starting to get raw. And for our last-ditch effort, Conquest literally skewers Mark straight through the chest, and even still he doesn't let go. Then the next 2 minutes are so brutal. I won't even bother showing it on the screen. Pretty much the only time in the series I literally felt ill because of what I was witnessing and the sounds that were happening. Overall, if you're watching this video, you already know what I'm talking about, so I won't go into detail. But after a painfully long sequence, the fight ends with Conquest finally completely dead and Mark left on the ground at 0.1 HP. Now we enter genuine peak. The gang pull up to Viltrum to do a surprise attack on Thrag, but they were there waiting for them and counter the surprise attack. Battle Beast obviously is getting fucking hype as the battle starts. Bro goes crazy swinging at everyone. Anissa tries attacking Nolan for being a traitor, but just gets bitch slapped away. Alan eviscerates this poor soul, and then Theodos breaks Craig's arm, calling him a weak pussy boy. Anissa tries attacking Nolan again, telling him that he's become soft, and he's like, don't count on it, bitch, as he slapped her ass away. Battle Beast gets sliced open, but you know, we all know this is what he lives for, so he's getting hype. And out of nowhere, Space Racer comes flying in, shooting at them, and Thrag is just orb forming, not even moving away as it flies by. God damn. And on top of that, we see he's brought like 10 Ragnars into battle to help fight, and god damn, these things are eating ass. And finally, it's time. Nolan attacks Thrag, and bro just sidesteps it. This ain't good. And he gets launched back down to the planet's surface. They start talking to one another, and eventually Omni-Man makes it clear that Viltrum has lost the war and that it's all over. Cutting back to the fight, Space Racers gets jumped and they break his mask. Luckily, Go Alan and Zoe come in saving him, repairing his mask. Omni-Man and Thrag face off, and bro clenches his fist so hard, Nolan gets sucked into it before receiving the nastiest uppercut in history. Keep in mind, he outflew a black hole earlier in the story. Okay. He flies back up, and Oliver tries to 1v1 him. Brother, do we learn fucking nothing? As a surprise to 0 people, he gets no-diffed by Thrag. After seeing this, Mark gets pissed, saying,
I killed Conquest! I'll kill you too!
Everyone just looks like, damn. And Anissa looks over at Mark, hearing that like, damn, Anissa really has the hots for Mark. I sure do hope she doesn't do any unspeakable act to him in the future. He tries attacking Thrag, but oh no. In anime or any type of fiction, when a guy takes your punch like that, you should just run. Everyone gets to scrapping a bit, and Thrag is literally bitch slapping Mark around like his personal cum dumpster. Omni-Man comes flying in, getting Theodos and Mark to follow him. Thrag realizes what they're doing, but it's too late. Space Racer shoots his blast into the planet, while the three of them fly through the entire thing, blowing it up. Truly one of the greatest spectacles in the entire show. Everyone's shocked, and Theodos is giving his speech before we hear,
I choose death!
guys, that's probably a really bad sign. You may want to try and run. And at this point, we realize they're all about to get touched harder than cookies do when they see me coming. He tackles Nolan and starts ragdolling him around and launches Mark also. Nolan charges at him, getting his arm ripped off immediately, and he grabs Mark before Nolan hits him away. Then he comes back in, stabbing him through the chest, one-shotting him before Mark comes flying in just to do nothing. He's gonna kill Mark, but luckily, due to the low amount of Viltrumites, he just leaves them alive. Thank God for that. So yeah, overall peak fight and showing of bro's power. And as much as I love big group fights, there's nothing quite like a personal, intimate, in-your-face 1v1. So at the top of our legendary tier, we have Invincible versus Conquest during their first encounter, currently sitting at a 9.9 on IMDb for a good reason. This fight starts off after the Invincible War, and holy shit, it does not let us down for a season finale. Fight starts off with this whole speech from Conquest that he wants Mark to resist because he just enjoys fighting. They start scrapping as Mark sends him through like 10 buildings. Mark's low-key hitting bro with combos, even sending him into space. Mark says, you still think you'll win this? Damn near certain. As Conquest comes flying back in, rocking bro in the face, sending him blind. He looks up and he drops in like a ballistic missile, hitting Mark while leveling an entire city at the same time. Mark gets sent through like 90 buildings, falling back on the city, and then out of nowhere, Go Oliver comes in. You know what? As much as Oliver loses every single fight, getting farmed time and time again, gotta give bro respect because he slides for his boys and no matter what. Conquest tackles Mark through more buildings as he locks in headbutting him. Invincible starts laying into him, but it's just becoming increasingly obvious that this shit is not working. Conquest body slams him into the ground, and he's getting more and more bored at how one-sided this is. Oliver comes in again, and Conquest bitch slaps bro away to 1v1 him. This was actually Coughing Baby versus Hydrogen Bomb. He punches him so hard, literally all his teeth fall out with gallons of blood, and then this fucking psychopath grabs him and starts slowly ripping him in half. Thankfully for us and Oliver, Mark comes in saving him. He punches Mark so hard that the glass all shatters, but Mark's actually kind of locked in now, giving him a good one right back. They take their fight across seas where Conquest pulls the train maneuver out on Mark, sending him through hundreds of people again. Mark eventually breaks free, hitting a clean one back, and that's when we see Eve's arrived. Conquest breaks Mark's leg and focuses on Eve. She low-key was holding her own for a few seconds, but once again, I don't know who these people think they are in these moments, and she just gets shish kebabbed. Mark's breaking apart, but Conquest thanking him for such a fun event, since it's so rare he can go all out like this. But then he drops the most hard line I've ever heard.
I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how fast you are. I can see the future. You don't live to see tomorrow.
Holy aura! Whoever wrote this line was fucking cooking. This shit was peak. They clash, breaking both their arms in the process, and Mark's going fucking nuclear like a feral animal. He's even biting, bro. And while they're attacking one another, something within Eve awakens as she uses her body to fix herself. This distracts Mark, which gives Conquest the upper hand, throwing him on the ground. I am so lonely. I haven't had cheeks in so long, Mark. I'm sorry. I haven't been completely honest with you. My name isn't Conquest. It's Cumquest. This'll only take a few seconds. Luckily, Eve shoots off some giga blast at them, saving him by burning all of his skin off. Mark uses this chance to start beating him down, and Conquest says he's got more than enough fight in him left for Mark, and bro once again drops another 10 out of 10 banger line.
Not enough. Not nearly.
And he starts headbutting him over and over and over and over again until he's flattened. Overall, one of the craziest showdowns in the series, and definitely deserving of our number 2 spot. Now, with our only fight in the godlike tier, we have Invincible versus his father. For a fight to make it in this tier, for me, you have to have peak action and peak writing, and this is probably the best fight in the entire series from its writing alone. After killing the Immortal, Nolan decides it's finally time to tell Mark what Viltrum is all about. He told them they created a perfect civilization, but he left out the fact that they're basically space pirates who control the galaxy through fear and genocide. And he tells his son they need to get ready to add Earth to the Viltrum Empire. It's also a peak because this is the moment where we get this.
Mark, this is good news. We can be bees. This isn't your world, but we can be bees. This is good news. You can be a bee. You'll live for 30 years.
Mark's heartbroken hearing this news, telling him that this has to be wrong because he loves him and he loves his mom.
I do love your mother, but she's more like a pet to me.
Excuse me? What the fuck? One of the most insane lines I've ever heard of my life in this moment. This obviously pushed Mark to the edge, and he decides to stand up to his father. And, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to witness one of the worst ass beatings in media history. Mark tries attacking, but gets literally no-diffed within a second, and his dad yeets him across the country. Cecil sends his jets to try and distract Omni-Man, and this shit is just tragic. Literally like sending a fat kid to fight Godzilla. Invincible saves one of the pilots, and his dad drops down, killing him, basically telling his son, what difference does it make if he were to die now versus 50 years? His son is desperately trying to reach out for his father's humanity, but he seems too far gone at this point. He hits Mark so hard he goes flying across the world into a city where he levels the entire area, witnessing countless amounts of death and destruction in his wake. He eventually asks his dad if his mom's life is worthless, and he says, in the grand scheme of things, yes. He gets pissed, laying a few combos on his dad, but he grabs him, slamming him to the ground, and oh no, you already know what's coming. The fucking train scene. One of the most wild things I've ever witnessed. His dad launches him back into the sky, telling him he doesn't know him because the time he spent living on Earth was just a fraction of his life. Mark tries to punch him, and
Oh no, bro.
and he starts going crazy. He beats the absolute dog shit out of his son before grabbing him and dunking him through an entire cruise ship, killing thousands more. Before sending him back through the sky, smashing him into a mountain. He starts absolutely laying into him, and he says,
Fine. What's 17 more years?
genuinely crazy, but after beating his son to near death, he stops himself and drops one of the most iconic lines in the show. What will you have after 500 years?
You, Dad. I still have you.
If you didn't at least tear up in this moment, you're probably a heartless monster. And yeah, that line got to him, causing him to fly off. A peak fight where his son is begging his dad to find his humanity while he's suppressing it. Sad to say it, but this episode was probably the peak of the entire series, because passing up Bard this high again would be kind of insane. So yeah, that's ranking every fight in Invincible. Hopefully you enjoyed. We can like and subscribe. Once again, thanks to the GOAT Europe for being in the special grade tier in the Patreon. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.